Chapter 18. Descent. Familiarity. Isolation. The dust was slowly settling on the moors, revealing the mound of collapsed shale that blocked the pass. Russell stared at it, uncomprehending, attempting to will it away. But the mountainside remained shattered, and the way remained shut. He had never in his life seen magic of that magnitude, not even from Zelda herself. The sheer power behind the spell had left his ears ringing, his thoughts dull in his head. Vissen rode up beside him, a thin grey layer of dust covering his worn armor, and looking very tired.
18 men. Counting you and me.
He blinked, and turned to stare blankly at his old teacher.
2 men dead. 1 shot through the eye, another beneath that avalanche. 18 left.
Vissen watched Russell closely, waiting calmly for a response. The commandant wheeled his horse about.
We'll have to go around the mountain. Her Highness informs me that they intend to try for Snow Peak. We can follow them part ways up the mountain, set up another ambush.
Certainly, Vissen said. His voice betrayed no emotion. Russell closed his eyes and seemed to contain some great internal struggle.
I will complete this task. I will redeem my son.
Drawing his gilded blade, he shouted commands to the idle soldiers.
To the far side of the peak. We will prevail. For Hyrule.
His men shouted. Their faith in him was a reassurance, proof that he was doing the right thing.
For Hyrule.
Russell bellowed back. He spurred his mount onwards, and 17 other men did the same. The only one of them who did not say anything at all was Vissen. Lying on her stomach on the only table in the cramped cabin, Midna took a deep breath. And then another. And then another.
All right,
she said finally.
All right.
She took a deep breath.
Are you trying to make yourself pass out?
Link asked from the other side of the cabin. He was reclined on an overstuffed couch, sipping tea and whiskey from a chipped mug. He was ashamed to say that he was really starting to acquire a taste for the foul concoction. One of the old witches, Coom? Or was it Kotake? Link could not tell the difference, continued to work at the combination of herbs with a mortar and pestle. Whatever she was making, it smelled even worse than his drink. The other witch hovered over Midna with a pair of forceps that had been heating in the fire for the last 10 minutes. Her clothing was pulled aside, exposing the darkly bleeding wound high on her thigh.
Whenever you're ready, dear,
Coom or Kotake said. It was the 5th time she had said it.
Whenever you're ready,
Midna repeated in a sing-song voice.
Gods above,
Link said,
you never complained this much when you actually got shot.
The shaft of the arrow had snapped off in the frantic chase, but the metal arrowhead remained embedded within her leg. When they had arrived in Kashuto and paid for their lodgings, Midna's claim of being unable to walk proved true. Link had located the town's only doctors, the 2 old hags, and paid them with Ganondorf's money.
Well, I don't see you lying here with your ass in the air, so why don't you keep your opinions to yourself?
Midna snapped back. She took another deep breath.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. What I meant to say was that I would greatly appreciate it if it were you having a sharp chunk of metal removed from your butt cheek instead of me. I believe it is actually a few centimeters below your butt cheek,
Link corrected her politely. He was having way too much fun with this.
Okay,
Midna said.
Do it.
She the belt Link had helpfully supplied her with, folded it over, and put it in her mouth.
Millimeter RRD.
One of the old witches withdrew a set of forceps from a pot of water boiling over the fire. Link set down the mug and grasped Midna's hands. She squeezed them tightly. And then suddenly she was clenching them desperately, the joints cracking with the strain, her arms thrashing wildly and Link doing everything he could to hold her still. The other witch had hold of her legs and was pinning them to the table firmly. Midna's scream was muffled by the belt in her mouth, her eyelids clamped shut. Lengths of red hair whipped about freely, blue-black blood pooled on the table.
There we go, that wasn't so bad now, was it?
The witch that Link thought was possibly Coom dropped the arrowhead into a metal bowl with a loud clang. Link leaned over to look at it. The sharp piece of twisted metal was at least half as large as his palm.
By Din, that must have hurt, Midna.
Midna spat out the leather belt. There were deep semicircular indentations left by her teeth.
I miss being all magic and stuff.
She raked a hand through her sweat-soaked hair.
That really sucked.
The witch that was maybe Kotaka picked up the bowl of herbs she had been mixing.
Here. This balm will seal the wound swiftly and rejuvenate your magical essence. Lay it on me.
The witch took the instructions literally, scooping up the ointment in her withered hands and gently dabbing it into the wound on the back of Midna's thigh. It was an electric blue, and the instant it touched her Midna sighed peacefully.
Ah, that is some kind of miracle ooze. Keep it coming.
Link had resumed his previous seat and drink when the cabin door banged open, admitting a gust of frigid wind, a sudden flurry of snowflakes, and what at first appeared to be 2 bears.
Was able to find a stable that'll care for the horses while we're on the mountain. And I've got coats.
Ganondorf said.
Look. White wolf's fur, this one. It blends in and repels the cold.
It must have taken at least 4 wolves to make the fur coat Ganondorf was wearing. With his dark skin and red beard poking out from beneath the furry white hood, he looked wildly mismatched. Navi, tossed about wildly by the wind, shot into the room after him and, with almost no effort whatsoever, Ganondorf pushed the door shut.
How's the injury?
He asked Midna.
Did they get the arrowhead out all right? Well, I lost about 2 pints of blood, but the job got done.
Midna was uncharacteristically calm. Euphoric, even.
And this blue gunk is just making my day right now. You have no idea. Sorry I couldn't help,
Navi said.
But there was a magic suppressing ward in those arrows. Powerful, too.
Ganondorf looked at the 2 witches oddly.
This potion will heal her wound, right? She'll be fine to go up the mountain. The wound will be closed and mended by morning, said one witch. There will still be pain, but even that will be gone within a week. Good.
Ganondorf seemed distracted. He set the coats down on the couch, but continued to watch the 2 witches for a while afterwards with a very strange expression on his face.
Okay buddy, this ain't no peep show here,
Midna said.
Move along.
She was flattering herself. Link saw that something about Coom and Kotaki unnerved Ganondorf very much, and the Gerudo could not keep his eyes off them. Even when he joined Link in taking a seat and pouring himself some hot tea, his eyes were still drawn to them. Link pondered for a while whether it was worthwhile to bring up the subject, and when the witches had gone, and they had settled down to sleep, and the cabin was filled with the smell of the bright blue paste, he asked,
Did you know those 2 healers?
Ganondorf said from his place on the bed across the room. Link was still on the couch and Midna was sleeping on the floor, propped on her stomach so as not to re-injure herself.
You were looking at them as if you knew them. You've been to this town before, right? Yes, long ago. Centuries ago. Before even the city of Hyrule existed.
The wind picked up outside, howling against the cabin's walls and bombarding the frosted windows with snowflakes. The fire flickering in the hearth kept the inside of the cabin warm, however, augmented by one of Midna's warming spells.
And the witches were alive then? No, I have never seen them before.
Ganondorf stared at the ceiling while he talked.
And yet, they seem familiar. As though I knew them once, but have long since forgotten. It was like that for me, too,
Link said.
Not with Coom and Kotaka, but with Saria, the girl who helped us in the forest. It was like I had known her my whole life. Strange, isn't it? Not exactly,
Ganondorf responded.
It will make sense to you after you have consulted with the gods atop Snow Peak.
Link sat up. Ganondorf was still gazing at the ceiling.
Why? What did they tell you? Something terrible. It shook me to my very soul to hear it. But I have reason to believe that the gods have much less distressing revelations in store for you. Why?
Link asked, his voice urgent now.
What are you talking about? You will see. Soon.
Ganondorf rolled over and faced the wall. Link lay back down and folded his arms over his head, trying to block the fire's flickering light.
Link. Are you awake?
Midna hissed loudly.
You just heard us talking. I really want to roll over, she said. Really badly. I've been lying on my stomach for like 5 hours. But you can't. But I can't. I might reopen my wound. You aren't happy unless you're complaining about something, are you?
Link sighed.
Nope,
Midna whispered. Navi the fairy slept soundly, curled up atop one of the fur coats. Midna was complaining.
Ugh, I hate the cold. Back when I was an imp, I couldn't even feel it.
She, along with Link and Ganondorf, was bundled up in thick fur and carrying a backpack full of supplies and climbing gear. The day was bright, blinding in the snowy whiteness.
Plus my ass still hurts, she said.
Nobody acknowledged her, but she said it anyways. Ganondorf was looking up at the mountain.
We can stop for breakfast once we cross the lake. There are plenty of places to shelter up on the mountain. What lake?
Midna asked.
We're standing on it.
Link bent down and scraped away the snow. The layer of ice beneath was smooth and gently rippled, exactly the way a large body of water might freeze. They were 15 minutes out of Kashuto. Working through the snow was difficult, however, and the town was still within shouting distance behind them. Midna looked down, into the hole in the snow that Link had made, at the frozen surface of the lake.
Suddenly, I'm nervous,
she said, trying to peer through the ice.
You're sure this is safe?
Link asked.
Absolutely,
Ganondorf scoffed.
Watch.
And then he jumped.
No,
Midna began, but then Ganondorf thumped back down heavily.
See?
He jumped up and down a couple more times for emphasis.
Yes, I see.
She grabbed his shoulder and kept him from leaping into the air again.
Just stop that. Why do you hate fun so much, Midna?
Link asked, forging a path ahead through the snow. Ganondorf laughed.
She's quite the little spoilsport, isn't she? I do not hate fun.
She hustled after them, kicking up miniature flurries.
I just really like not drowning in an icy lake. Well, then, you might not like what's up ahead,
Link said. He raised his hands to shield his eyes from the glare, to affirm what he was seeing. At the other side of the lake, close to the far shore, the whiteness of the snow was marred by a stretch of inky darkness. Ganondorf saw it, too.
The ice must have broken.
As they got closer, they saw that it had shattered cleanly, thick chunks of ice bobbed up and down in the dark water. Link walked all the way up to the edge and peered over.
Looks like we'll have to jump. Oh, no. No way. No way. You two go first,
Ganondorf said.
I'm much heavier. The ice might not hold my weight.
Navi poked her head out from Link's pocket and did a quick flyover of the floating obstacle course. She hovered over a large piece that was easily within leaping distance.
Start here,
she shouted, her tiny voice barely audible.
I'll show you which ones are safe.
Link shrugged off his pack.
Throw this over when I get there.
And with that he backed up, took a running start, and jumped. He cleared the gap easily. But his boots came down hard on the floating ice shelf, which swayed unsteadily beneath his weight. He began sliding inexorably forward, the miniature iceberg tilting further and further as he added his weight.
Don't fall in the water.
Navi panicked.
Oh, no. Oh no.
With a grunt of effort, Link jabbed his dagger into the ice. It worked, providing him with enough purchase to stop himself from slipping any further.
Gods, I really thought you were gonna drown there.
Midna was saying.
Take it easy, Link.
Link slowly stood up, found his balance, and launched himself over the water again. This time, When he hit the ice he let himself fall down, and splayed out his arms and legs to keep the miniature iceberg steady. Slowly, he began to work his way across the icy water.
I think I'm getting the hang of this,
Midna said behind him. She had started across also, and was a few icebergs behind him.
It's actually kind of fun, once I get past how much I hate it.
Link made one more leap, and finally found himself standing on solid rock.
All right,
he yelled back at Ganondorf.
Throw the packs over.
Ganondorf picked up Link's bag and gave it a mighty toss. Propelled by his incredible strength, it sailed easily over the water and landed right in Link's arms. Midna hopped onto the rocks beside him.
Damn, that was a hell of a throw.
Link caught the second bag, it was Midna's.
Oof. These things aren't exactly easy to lift with one arm, either.
She watched Ganondorf throw his own pack over the floating ice.
Sometimes I forget how strong the big man really is. Especially in light of me losing my shadows and all. It's humbling to see someone that powerful. Power isn't everything,
Link said.
You see.
They watched Ganondorf jump onto the first ice block and wipe out.
You all right, big guy?
Midna shouted. Ganondorf raised an arm in acknowledgement, and slowly regained his feet. Slowly, but surely, the Gerudo leader navigated his way across the ice floes until he, too, was standing beside them.
Well,
he said.
Here it's almost noon, and we haven't even started climbing yet. We can start up the mountain and have a break in a few hours,
Link suggested. The foot of the mountain inclined gently, with the snowy slopes near the bottom providing little obstacle. The primary difficulty was simply fatigue, and the snow rose up to his waist in many places and bogged down his steps. As the slope of the mountain grew ever steeper, he found his breath coming short and ragged, his pack weighing heavy on his back.
There,
Midna pointed.
Those trees up ahead. Snow'll be less deep there.
She was right. A copse of pine trees stretched out along the mountainside, allowing the drifts of snow to build up against the branches. They had to use their arms to shield their faces from the low-hanging branches, but at least they could move their feet again. The thin snow and frozen soil soon became icy rock, as they reached the tree line further up the mountain. Snow was falling hard and fast, tossed about by the increasing winds and stinging Link's face and eyes.
I can't see where we're going,
Ganondorf said.
I wish I could help,
Navi said, now roosting in the confines of his fur coat.
But I'd get blown away if I tried to fly in this wind.
Midna peered into the gale of whiteness.
What are we looking for? There should be a sheer rock wall 100 or so yards ahead. There's a cave in the wall that had other entrances further up the mountain. I'll go take a look,
Link said.
Watch my pack.
Neither Midna nor Ganondorf objected, he hadn't expected them to.
Be careful,
Ganondorf said.
This is no ordinary storm.
Link nodded, let his pack fall to the snowy ground, and stepped out from the shelter of the pine trees and into the blizzard. Almost immediately he was enveloped in a piercing gale that tugged insistently on his cloak, a million snowflakes swirling about his head. After a few steps he began to feel disoriented. Looking behind him, he could not spot Midna or Ganondorf. Only the faint light of Navi the fairy marked the trees where they were hiding. Turning around again, he found that he was already unsure of his bearings. The howling of the wind in his ear overwhelmed his thoughts and created an odd sort of silence. The quiet shuffle of his boots lifting the fresh snow was clearly audible. He saw light before him, and for a second Link thought that he had gotten turned around again and was seeing Navi through the blizzard. But then he realized something was different about this light. It was golden. There was the sudden sound of quick footsteps and noisy breathing, just behind him. He whirled around, but saw nothing. Link was completely lost in the blizzard now.
Hello!
He shouted.
Can anyone hear me?
There was no answer, save for the same sound of quick light footfalls that now seemed to be all around him. Link slid the bow from his back, plucked an arrow from the quiver. In the erratic winds, it was a struggle to merely hold the weapon straight. He squinted, looking past the thousands upon thousands of snowflakes falling through the air, into the swirling whiteness, searching for stillness. There. A pair of black eyes and white fur, immobile amongst the constant movement. Link let the arrow fly, off target, just as the winds changed direction yet again. It traced a parabolic arc sideways through the air as the wind took it, curving gracefully into Link's target. The sudden ruby-red splash of blood was almost incandescent against the whiteness, the agonized howl carried away in the storm's fury. The second Wolfos, the one behind him, charged him as soon as its comrade fell, and Link could only turn halfway round in the time between its leap into the air and its impact with his body. The animal's gnashing teeth sought his throat as, simultaneously, Link pressed his forearm against the Wolfos windpipe and shoved hard. He threw the beast off him and it vanished into the snowstorm once more, attempting to circle round for another pass. Link unsheathed the dagger at his side end, as the Wolfos leapt once more, slashed out at it. The blade caught the animal in the throat, another gout of scarlet staining the snow as the force of the blow knocked the animal out of midair and into the ground. Flicking droplets of blood off the end of the knife, Link paused once more. There had been one more of them. He was sure of it. The snarl of the beast as it lunged was the only warning he received. Link turned, too late to do anything but catch a glimpse of the Wolfos as its mouth closed around his neck, teeth sinking into his throat. As the pale whiteness around him grew into a pure blinding light, he couldn't help but notice that this animal was a different color than the rest. Instead of a camouflaging white, this creature's fur was a brilliant gold, shining brightly against the mountain's coldness. Chapter end.